Listen to me. Success ain't about doing something once. Anybody can be good for a day. Anybody can show up when it's easy. But consistency, that's the difference between the people who dream and the people who live the dream. When I started my journey, I didn't have no money, no degrees, no spotlight. I had a grind. And that grind was powered by consistency. Every single morning when that alarm went off, I got up. Didn't feel like it, didn't matter. The world doesn't reward feelings, it rewards results. You see, too many of y'all want success like it's a lottery ticket. You want to wake up one day, hit the jackpot, and live your best life. But I'm telling you, success is a habit, not an event. It's brushing your teeth every day for years, not once before a date. It's showing up even when nobody's watching because you made a promise to yourself. Let me tell you something. Consistency builds character. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you strengthen your identity. You tell yourself, I'm the kind of person who finishes what I start. And that's power. Hey, Bert, you don't need to be the smartest. You don't need the best resources. You just need the discipline to keep showing up when others quit. That's what separates champions from the rest. Not talent, but commitment. The greats, Kobe, Serena, Elon, Oprah, they all mastered one thing. They didn't stop when it got hard. They didn't let their emotions make decisions. They were consistent when it was raining, consistent when it was painful, consistent when no one was clapping. Every rep, every day, every failure, it adds up. You can't plant a seed and eat fruit the same day. But if you water that seed every day, the harvest will come. So I'm asking you, what are you doing every single day to get closer to your dream? Not once in a while. Not when I feel inspired. Every single day. Because when you become consistent, you become unbreakable. You become that force. Say it. Can't move. That pressure can't destroy. That fear can't stop. So stop starting and stopping. Stop giving 100% on Monday and 0 on Friday. Get consistent and you'll get powerful. You'll stop chasing success and success will start chasing you. Hebrew, stop waiting to feel like it. You know what I'm saying? Stop waiting for that perfect morning, that perfect playlist, that perfect feeling that makes you want to jump out of bed. Because let me tell you something. That feeling don't come every day. Motivation is temporary. It's like a spark. It'll light the fire. But if you don't keep adding wood, that fire dies out. That's why most people never see the finish line. They start strong. They start excited. They start loud. But when the excitement fades, they stop. That's the difference between people who want it and people who get it. Consistency beats motivation every single time. You got to stop living your life waiting for the right vibe to work. You got to stop saying, I'll do it when I feel like it. Because let me be real, you'll never feel like it all the time. You'll have days when you're tired, when your mind's heavy, when everything seems stacked against you. But that's when consistency steps in. That's when discipline becomes your best friend. When motivation dies, discipline says, we keep going. Motivation whispers, take a break. Discipline screams, we don't quit. See, people think winners wake up motivated every morning. Nah, winners wake up consistent. They wake up with a mission. They wake up with purpose. Motivation is emotion. Consistency is commitment. And commitment don't care how you feel. You think Kobe woke up every day excited to shoot 1,000 free throws before dawn? You think Serena felt motivated to train for hours while her body ached? No. They did it because they were consistent. They didn't need to feel good to do good. They didn't need hype. They had habits. That's the secret nobody tells you. You can't depend on emotion to be. Yield your empire. You can't rely on inspiration to chase your dream. Because emotion changes. It's unstable. Some mornings you'll feel like a champion. Other mornings you'll feel like a failure. But consistency don't care about your mood. It just shows up every day, rain or shine. That's how greatness is built. Not on motivation, but on momentum. You see, motivation is that friend who hypes you up in the beginning. It's the one that makes you post quotes, buy planners, set goals. But consistency, that's the friend who stays when it gets hard. That's the one who holds you accountable, who makes sure you keep showing up when nobody's watching. Motivation gives you energy, but consistency gives you results. Motivation fades after a week, but consistency builds a lifestyle. Ibrahu, let me talk to the dreamers out there. You got dreams, right? You got visions, you got goals, you got ideas, but you're stuck because you only move when you feel like. You wait for the right time, the right feeling, the right mood. That's why you start and stop. That's why you burn out, because you're chasing a feeling instead of building a system. You want success, but you don't want schedule. You want results, but you don't want routine. You can't win like that. You can't build like that. Every person who made it, every success story came from consistency. When I was homeless, When I was sleeping in abandoned buildings, when I was hungry, you think I was motivated? No, I was desperate. I didn't have motivation. I had discipline. I got up every morning and did the work anyway. I studied, I hustled, I kept going, because consistency don't need applause. It don't need permission. It just needs direction. Every day I told myself, E.T., you said you were going to do this, so do it. Not because I felt like it, but because I made a commitment to my future. You can't expect to grow if you only water your dream once a week. You can't expect results if you only show up when wide or excited. You got to show up every day. Some days it'll feel amazing. Some days it'll feel like nothing's happening, but it's happening. You're growing, you're strengthening, you're building habits that will take you farther than any motivational video ever could. Let me break it down. Motivation is an emotion. Consistency is a decision. Motivation says I want to. Consistency says I will. Motivation says I feel good today. Consistency says I'll do it even when I don't. Motivation gets you started, but consistency keeps you moving. And that's why some people succeed and others stay stuck. The successful ones keep going after the hype wears off. A Burke. Everybody wants success, but few people want the boring part, the repetition, the routine, the grind when it's not glamorous, the daily work that nobody sees. That's where real change happens. That's where champions are made. You think growth feels exciting every day? Nah, sometimes it feels like nothing's moving, but consistency understands that progress doesn't always look dramatic. It's slow, steady, and silent. That's the beauty of it. It's not emotional, it's foundational. A Burke. When you get consistent, something shifts inside you. You stop chasing results and start becoming the type of person who deserves them. You stop saying, I want to be successful, and start acting like it. Because consistency changes your identity. It rewires your brain. Every day you show up, you tell yourself, I'm disciplined, I'm reliable, I do what I say I'll do. And one day, that becomes who you are. You don't have to try to be consistent anymore. It becomes natural. That's when success starts chasing you. Hebrew to E, let me give you something practical. Stop trying to change your life overnight. Stop saying I'm going to work 10 hours a day starting tomorrow. You won't last. You don't need intensity, you need consistency. Start small, start simple. Be consistent with little things. Wake up at the same time. Hit the gym, even I. F, it's just 20 minutes. Study for 30 minutes a day. Whatever it is, just keep doing it. Because over time, that small act builds momentum. And momentum creates progress. And progress creates belief. When you're consistent, the universe starts to move with you. People start to trust you. Opportunities start finding you because consistency is attractive. It shows that you're serious, that you're stable, that you're dependable. Nobody invests in potential. They invest in proof. And your consistency is the proof. The problem is most of you keep starting over. You get hyped, you go hard for a week, and then you stop. Then you start again. Every time you stop, you lose the rhythm. You lose the momentum. Imagine if you went to the gym every day for 6 months and then stopped for 2. You lose the muscle. You lose the progress. That's life. You can't win by being on and off. You got to stay on. That's why consistency is power. There's going to be mornings you don't want to get out of bed. There's going to be nights when you're tired, when your mind says, take a break. But listen, every time you push through, you build something inside you that can't be broken. You start trusting yourself. You start realizing I can count on me. That's real confidence, not from what you say, but from what you do over and over again. A Burke, consistency is how you separate from the crowd. Everybody's motivated in January. Everybody's hyped at the start of something new. But by March, half of them are gone. By June, it's only a handful left. And by December, it's the consistent ones who win. The ones who didn't quit. The ones who stayed when it was boring, when it was painful, when it wasn't popular. That's why you see them shining, because they kept grinding. Hebrew, stop making motivation your fuel. Motivation runs out. Discipline refills itself. Consistency keeps the engine running when the tank's empty. It's the reason you'll still be grinding when others give up. It's the reason you'll keep going when the feeling fades. Because when you commit to consistency, you stop depending on the weather of your emotions. You become the storm. At A Burke, I'm telling you, you don't need motivation every day. You need to decide once and stick to that decision every day. Make consistency your lifestyle. Don't wait for the mood. Don't wait for the spark. Be the spark. Be the fire. Be the one who shows up. Not because it's easy, not because it's fun, but because you said you would. And once you master that, there's nothing on this planet that can stop you. He Burke, You don't get great by doing something once. You don't master your craft by showing up when it's convenient. Mastery doesn't come from talent. It comes from repetition. Over and over and over again, day in, day out. When you're tired, when it's boring, when nobody's watching, that's how the great ones are made. Repetition is the grind that turns average into exceptional. It's the slow, steady fire that forges greatness. Everybody wants to be great until it's time to do the same thing again and again. Everybody loves the idea of success, but nobody wants to fall in love with repetition. You want to win, but you don't want to repeat. You want progress, but you don't want patience. You want to shine, but you don't want the struggle that comes from doing it over and over. But that's where the power is. The repetition, the unglamorous, unexciting, unseen work. Let me tell you something. Repetition is how you train your mind and your body to perform even when you don't think. You don't rise to the level of your motivation. You fall to the level of your training. And training comes from repetition. That's why soldiers drill. That's why athletes practice. That's why speakers rehearse. They're programming their excellence. They're building muscle memory for greatness. So when the moment comes, they don't freeze, they flow. You see, repetition is not punishment. It's preparation. Every time you repeat, you refine. Every time you do it again, you get sharper. Every time you go back, you remove a weakness. That's how mastery works. It's not about doing something different every day. It's about doing the right thing repeatedly till it becomes part of who you are. That's the secret the world doesn't show you. The highlight reels skip the practice. The success stories skip the repetition. But behind every champion, there's 1,000 repetitions you never saw. Kobe Bryant used to shoot 1,000 free throws a day, not a week, a day. Michael Jordan didn't just practice until he got it right. He practiced until he couldn't get it wrong. That's repetition. That's mastery. You see, you can't fake mastery. You can fake enthusiasm. You can fake effort for a moment, but mastery exposes the truth. When the lights come on, when the pressure's high, repetition shows who prepared and who pretended. You can't build confidence without repetition. You can't walk into your purpose with shaky practice. Every time you repeat, you're proving to yourself, I belong here. You're building belief through evidence. You're telling your mind, I've done this before. That's why the best don't panic under pressure, because they've already been there 1,000 times in private. Let me break it down. Repetition builds skill. Skill builds confidence. And confidence builds success. It's a ladder. You can't skip steps. You can't pray for mastery while avoiding practice. You can't wish for results when you haven't repeated the process. Every great performer you admire has done the same thing again and again until perfection became automatic. But here's the thing. Repetition is boring. It's not exciting. It's not glamorous. It's not social media material. It's lonely. It's quiet. It's unseen. That's why most people quit. They mistake boredom for failure. They think if it's not exciting, it's not working. No. That's exactly when it's working. The repetition phase is where the magic happens. That's when you're laying bricks. You don't see the building yet, but every brick you lay matters. You're building a foundation of mastery. You ever notice how a musician practices the same scales for years? Or how a boxer throws the same punch thousands of times? It's because mastery doesn't come from variety. It comes from depth. The deeper you go, the better you get. Too many of you are surface level. You try something once or twice, it doesn't work, and you move on. You never get deep enough to get good. You're chasing new things instead of mastering one thing. But the world doesn't reward the person who knows a little bit of everything. It rewards the person who's unbeatable at one thing. You got to fall in love with the repetition. You got to learn to find joy in the routine. You got to learn to show up and do the same thing better every time. Because every rep counts, every practice, every rehearsal, every small effort compounds. That's the power of repetition. It multiplies over time. It takes your effort and turns it into excellence. When I started speaking, I wasn't good. I stumbled, I froze, I got nervous, but I kept speaking over and over. Every school, every church, every community center. I didn't care if there were 5 people or 500. I kept repeating. I studied my words, my tone, my presence. And every repetition made me better. Every time I messed up, I learned. Every time I showed up, I grew. That's why today, when I step on stage, I don't think I flow, because repetition made it natural. That's the part people don't see. They see the videos, the energy, the emotion, but they don't see the thousands of times I practice alone. The countless nights I spoke in empty rooms, the repetition that built my rhythm, the repetition that made me unstoppable. That's what mastery is. It's invisible to the world until it's undeniable. You want to be a beast? You got to do the boring stuff. You got to repeat what works. You got to do it. Then when you're tired of doing it, you got to show up for the process, not just the payoff. That's the difference between amateurs and professionals. Amateurs do it until it feels hard. Professionals do it until it feels easy. Amateurs stop when they're tired. Professionals stop when it's perfect. And perfection comes from repetition. We don't chase variety, chase mastery. You don't need 100 strategies. You need one that works, done 100 times. Repetition is what separates effort from excellence. Anybody can start, anybody can try, but not everybody can repeat. The great ones, they repeat relentlessly. They do it again and again and again until their body, their mind, and their soul align with the work. Repetition also builds resilience, because every time you repeat, you face failure, you face boredom, you face yourself, and you keep going anyway. That's what builds toughness. That's what builds faith. You can't just talk about being strong. Repetition makes you strong. When you've done something 1,000 times, fear disappears, doubt fades, because you know deep down you've earned it. Let me tell you, the grind don't care how you feel. The repetition don't care about your excuses. You either do it or you don't. And if you do it long enough, it becomes who you are. You start moving differently, thinking differently. You stop chasing motivation because your repetition is your motivation. The results you see fuel you to keep going. That's the loop of mastery. Work, repeat, improve, repeat, grow, repeat. Stop switching plans every time it gets hard. Stop changing directions every time you get bored. Stick to the process. Keep repeating, because repetition doesn't just build skill. It builds trust. The world starts to see your consistency, your growth, your evolution. And they respect that. They invest in that. People don't follow talk. They follow proof. Repetition gives you proof. You might not see it at first. You might think it's not working. But trust me, every rep adds up. Every time you show up, you're one step closer to mastery. You might not be getting praise. You might not be seeing results, but the process is shaping you. The repetition is molding you into the person who can handle success. Because here's the truth. If success came before repetition, you couldn't handle it. You break under the pressure. Repetition prepares you to carry the weight of your blessing. You got to stop treating repetition like it's punishment. It's a privilege. You're building something worth keeping. It means you're refining your craft. It means you're getting closer to your destiny. Every time you do it again, you're polishing your potential. You're sanding away your weaknesses. You're sharpening your edge. You're preparing for the day when opportunity knocks, and you're ready. Paid broke people say practice makes perfect. No, perfect practice makes progress. And progress comes from repeating with purpose. Don't just go through the motions. Study your moves, adjust, improve, grow. Each repetition should make you better than the last. That's the difference between mechanical effort and mindful repetition. One keeps you stuck. The other takes you to mastery. You want to be great? You got to repeat what great people do. You got to be willing to do what they did, not just once, but forever. Greatness is not a one-time event. It's a lifestyle. You wake up, you repeat. You fail, you repeat. You win, you repeat. Because repetition isn't something you do until you win. It's something you keep doing because that's who you are now. You don't become a master because you've done it all. You become a master because you never stop doing it. Every repetition is a seed. Every day you water it. Every action builds the next one. And before you know it, what was once effort becomes instinct. What was once struggle becomes strength. That's the beauty of repetition. It turns effort into ease, chaos into contour, potential into power. Your habits are writing your story every single day. You can talk all you want about your dreams, your goals, your vision, but your habits, not your hopes, are what define who you really are. You can say you want success, but if your habits don't match that vision, you're lying to yourself. Success isn't built in the big moments. It's built in the small ones. Those daily choices, those invisible routines that nobody claps for. You are what you repeatedly do. And if you want to change your life, you've got to change your habits. When you wake up every morning, the first thing you do tells the world who you are. Do you hit snooze or do you hit grind? Do you scroll or do you start your day with purpose? Those habits may look small, but they're shaping your destiny. Every little thing you do consistently becomes who you are. You don't become disciplined overnight. You become disciplined through repetition. You don't wake up motivated every day. You wake up committed to your habits. That's why I tell people, stop talking about what you're going to do and start proving it through your habits. You can't fake habits. You can post about motivation. You can talk about grinding, but your habits will tell the truth about your priorities, the truth about your effort, the truth about your future. You can't want success and live like you're average. You can't pray for greatness and practice mediocrity. The gap between where you are and where you want to be is filled with your habits. You ever wonder why some people always seem to be growing, improving, winning, while others stay stuck? It's not luck. It's not talent. It's habits. The winners build systems that work even when they don't feel like working. They don't wait for motivation. They build habits that keep them moving. It's automatic. They don't think, they just do. Because when your habits align with your goals, success becomes inevitable. You are a product of what you do consistently, not what you do occasionally. Anybody can do something great once. Anybody can show up strong one day. But who are you when the excitement fades? What are your habits when no one's watching? That's what defines you. When I was young, I used to say, one day I'll be successful. But my habits were lazy. My habits didn't match my mouth. I wanted the reward, but I wasn't building the routine. That's why I stayed stuck. Because you can't outdream your discipline. You can't outwish your work. Abram. Once I changed my habits, my life changed. I stopped sleeping in. I stopped blaming people. I stopped reacting to life and started designing it. Every morning I woke up early, studied, worked, stayed consistent. Those small habits added up. They built my discipline. They gave me confidence. And one day I look back and the man I used to be, he was gone. My habits had created a new identity. You got to understand, habits are more powerful than motivation because they run without emotion. Once something becomes a habit, you don't have to think about it anymore. It becomes who you are. That's why bad habits are dangerous, because they feel comfortable. You don't even notice when they're destroying your potential. The same way good habits lift you up, bad habits pull you down. You can't expect success while practicing failure every day. You can't expect clarity while feeding yourself chaos. Every decision you make is either moving you closer to your dreams or further away. There's no neutral. Every habit you repeat is either building your power or weakening your potential. You skip the gym once, maybe it's nothing, but skip it 10 times and it becomes your lifestyle. You study once, maybe it's boring, but do it daily and it becomes your advantage. The difference between winners and quitters isn't talent, it's what they do daily. The problem is, most people want transformation without consistency. They want to change their life without changing their patterns. They say they want anti-success, but they still live by the same routine that got them nowhere. You can't create a new future with old habits. You can't rise while you're chained to your past patterns. Change your habits and your life will follow. You don't need a miracle. You need discipline. When you look at the most successful people on this planet, athletes, entrepreneurs, artists, they all have one thing in common: powerful habits. They don't rely on luck. They rely on structure. They don't guess. They execute. They don't wait for the perfect time. They follow the system they built. Their habits are their foundation. That's why they don't crumble under pressure, because habits are stable when feelings are not. You might say, E.T., it's hard. Yeah, it's hard. But so is staying broke, staying lost, staying average. You get to choose your hard. You can't escape it. But if you're going to struggle anyway, at least struggle toward greatness. Struggle with purpose. Because every good habit you build today is saving you from pain tomorrow. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, you're protecting your dream. Every time you show up when it's hard, you're building the kind of person who wins. Your habits control your future more than your intentions do. You don't get what you wish for. You get what you work for consistently. Stop making decisions based on how you feel in the moment. Start making decisions that your future self will thank you for. The choices you make daily, what you eat, what you watch, how you spend your time, who you talk to, they all add up. They either feed your success or your failure. Your habits are either building your future or breaking it. Start with small habits. Stop trying to change everything overnight. That's why most people fail. They overwhelm themselves. Focus on one thing at a time. Wake up earlier, read daily, work on your craft every day, stack those wins, build that rhythm. Once you get consistent, momentum takes over. You'll look back in 6 months and realize your entire life shifted. Not because of one big change, but because of small habits that you kept repeating. You can't hide your habits. They show in your results. They show in your body, your mindset, your bank account, your relationships. If your results are weak, it's not the world's fault. It's your habits. If you don't like what you're seeing, change what you're doing. It's that simple. Stop blaming, stop complaining, stop waiting. Replace your bad habits with good ones and give it time. Because transformation doesn't happen overnight. It happens daily through repetition, through patience, through consistency. Your habits are also your language to the universe. You're telling life what you expect through what you do. If your habits say laziness, life gives you mediocrity. If your habits say hunger, life gives you opportunity. You attract what you are, not what you wish. That's why your habits matter more than your words, because habits speak louder than dreams. I don't care how much potential you got. If your habits are weak, your potential will die unfulfilled. You can't rely on talent when your habits don't match. Discipline will take you places motivation can't. Habits will carry you when excitement fades. That's the truth about greatness. It's not built in one big moment of inspiration. It's built in thousands of small decisions that nobody sees. When you look at your life right now, ask yourself, are your habits helping or hurting you? Are they making you stronger or weaker? Are they moving you closer to the life you want or keeping you stuck in the one you hate? Be honest with yourself, because once you see it, you can change it. The first step to freedom is awareness. The second step is action. Build one good habit today and repeat it until it becomes automatic. Then build another. That's how you create a life of purpose. Brick by brick, habit by habit. Don't underestimate the power of small habits. Waking up early, reading 10 pages a day, saving a little money, saying no to distractions. These look like small things, but they build empires. Every great person you admire started small. Their habits compounded over time until they couldn't be ignored. That's the law of success. Consistency compounds. You want to change your identity? Don't say it. Show it. Act like the person you want to become until it's no longer an act. Build habits that align with that identity. Can't become disciplined while practicing laziness. You can't become confident while practicing fear. You can't become successful while practicing inconsistency. Every habit is a vote for the kind of person you want to become. You have to decide who you are through your actions, not your feelings. Because at the end of the day, it's not your dream that defines you. It's your discipline. Not your words, but your work. Not your inspiration, but your habits. That's the real you. The one you build daily through your choices, your routines, and your grind. So if you want to change your life, don't chase motivation. Change your habits. Because your habits, my friend, are your destiny. You know what separates the good from the great. It's not luck. It's not talent. It's not some secret formula. It's commitment over convenience. Everybody wants success when it's easy, when the weather is perfect, when they feel good. But true winners, real champions, they show up when it's cold, when it's raining, when they're tired, when nobody's clapping for them. That's the difference. That's the truth people don't want to hear. You see, commitment means doing what you said you were going to do long after the feeling has left you. It means you don't quit just because it stopped being fun or exciting or easy. Because the truth is, success doesn't care about your comfort zone. Success lives on the other side of consistent sacrifice. Too many people live by convenience. They'll do it if it fits AR schedule, if it feels good, if they're in the mood. But that's why they stay stuck. You can't build greatness on convenience. You can't create excellence part-time. If you only show up when it's comfortable, you'll never rise above average. The people who win, who really win, are the ones who keep going when it hurts. When the body says stop, but the heart says one more, that's what builds character. That's what builds strength. You can't fake it. You can't buy it. You earn it through pain, through persistence, through every single moment when you choose commitment over comfort. I remember when I was sleeping in abandoned buildings, hungry, tired, hopeless. Nobody was watching. Nobody cared. But I had made a promise to myself, to my future, that I was going to keep showing up. Not when it was easy, not when it was comfortable. Every single day I made a decision. I told myself, I'm not going to quit just because it hurts. I'm not going to stop because it's inconvenient. And over time, that decision became who I was. That's how habits are formed. You make a choice and you repeat it until it becomes your identity. I became the kind of person who doesn't quit. That's the gift of commitment. It transforms your entire being. See, convenience gives you pleasure, but commitment gives you purpose. Convenience makes you comfortable for a day, but commitment gives you victory for a lifetime. Convenience says, I'll do it tomorrow. Commitment says, I'll do it now. Convenience says, it's too hard. Commitment says, I'll find a way. You can't serve both. You've got to decide who you are and what you stand for. You've got to ask yourself, am I doing this because it's easy or because it's right? The people who achieve greatness, they don't negotiate with excuses. They don't let laziness run their lives. They've decided that no matter how inconvenient, they'll do what needs to be done. Think about the athletes you admire, the entrepreneurs you respect, the legends we celebrate. You think they got there by convenience? No, they got there by commitment. Kobe Bryant didn't wake up at 4 a.m. because it was comfortable. He did it because he was committed to excellence. Serena Williams didn't train every single day because it was fun. She did it because she was committed to being the best. Elon Musk didn't sleep in his factory because it was convenient. He did it because he believed in his mission. That's the power of commitment. It's not glamorous. It's not easy, but it's necessary. When you commit, truly commit, something inside you changes. You stop waiting for the perfect moment because you realize there isn't one. You stop looking for motivation because you built discipline. And discipline will take you where motivation can't. Every day you show up, even when you don't feel like it, you're building a foundation that can't be broken. That's what makes commitment powerful. It gives you control over your destiny. You're no longer a slave to your moods or your environment. You're driven by purpose. Let me tell you something. Real commitment will cost you. It'll cost you sleep. It'll cost you comfort. It'll cost you time, but it will pay you back in freedom, confidence, and success. You'll start to walk differently, talk differently, think differently, because you'll know you can trust yourself. That's what happens when you choose commitment over convenience. You stop breaking promises to yourself. You stop lying to your potential. Every time you keep going when it's inconvenient, you tell yourself, I'm someone who finishes what I start. And that identity becomes your power. Ebrew, some of you keep restarting. You'll go hard for 3 days, then stop because it's too much. Then you start again next month. That's why you're stuck. You're living by convenience. You think success is supposed to feel good all the time. It's not. It's supposed to stretch you, to test you, to demand more from you. You've got to make peak with discomfort. You've got to stop looking for easy routes and start building endurance, because when you can work through the pain, through the boredom, through the doubt, that's when you become unstoppable. Commitment doesn't mean perfection. It means persistence. You're going to fall, you're going to fail, but you get back up. That's what makes the difference. Every setback is a test where you choose convenience or commitment. When you say it's too hard, you're giving your power away. When you say, I'll do it anyway, you're taking your power back. That's what winners do. They don't wait for perfect conditions. They create them through consistent action. So I want you to think right now, what are you committed to? Not what sounds good, not what you wish for. What are you willing to suffer for? Because that's your real commitment. If it doesn't cost you anything, it won't change you. If it doesn't stretch you, it won't grow you. Every dream has a price tag, and the currency is consistency and sacrifice. You've got to pay every single day, and you can't use excuses as currency. Stop making choices based on what's easy. Easy doesn't build muscle. Easy doesn't build strength. Easy doesn't build legacy. Commitment does. Every great story you've ever heard started with a decision to keep going, even when it was inconvenient. So stop waiting for the stars to align. Stop waiting for motivation. Show up, do the work again and again and again, because at the end of the day, your level of commitment determines your level of success. You can't control everything, but you can control your consistency. You can control your effort. You can control how hard you push. And that's what separates those who dream from those who achieve. Every day you get a choice, convenience or commitment. One leads to regret, the other leads to greatness. Choose wisely, choose to keep showing up, choose to push through, choose to be consistent no matter what it costs. Because once you master commitment, there's nothing you can't achieve. Progress doesn't come from doing something massive one time. It comes from doing something small, consistently over time. That's the secret that separates the people who wish for success from the people who build it. Every single day, you've got a choice. Take a small step or stand still. And let me tell you something. Those small steps, those little actions that seem insignificant, they add up. They start stacking like bricks, one on top of another, until you build something powerful. That's how progress compounds. That's how ordinary people become extraordinary. Hebrew C. Most folks underestimate the power of small efforts. They think success, huge leap, this one-time miracle. But the truth, success is quiet. It's slow. It's steady. It's not one big win. It's 1,000 tiny victories that nobody sees. You get up early one more time. You push through one more rep. You make one more call. You write one more page. And day after day, those small choices begin to create momentum. That's where the magic happens, in the discipline of the daily grind. People quit too early because they don't see results fast enough. They plant the seed and start digging it up the next morning, wondering why it hasn't grown. But growth takes time. You've got to trust the process, even when you can't see the progress. Because while you're working, something's happening underground. Every bit of effort, every bit of discipline, it's feeding your future. And when the time is right, all that work bursts through the soil and becomes visible. But you don't get the harvest without the hard work, and you don't get the results without the repetition. Consistency turns those small efforts into unstoppable momentum. You might not notice it at first, but it's there. Like compound interest, your effort multiplies. You might only get 1% better today, but you do that every day for a year and you've transformed your entire life. The problem is most people stop after a week. They want overnight success in a world that rewards long-term persistence. They give up because they don't see the reward immediately. But real winners understand that progress doesn't show up every day. It builds up over time. When you keep pushing, even when it feels like nothing's happening, you're setting the foundation for something great. Think about it like this. Every single day you show up, you're depositing into your success account. It might not seem like much now, but one day all those deposits will pay off. And when that moment comes, people will call it luck. They'll say, wow, you blew up overnight. But you'll know the truth. You didn't blow up overnight. You showed up every night. You worked when nobody clapped. You stayed consistent when nobody believed. That's the kind of progress that compounds. It's like climbing a mountain. You don't jump to the top. You take one step at a time. And some days the climb feels steep. Your legs burn, your lungs ache, and you start to question why you're even doing it. But if you keep moving one step at a time, eventually you look up and you're halfway there. That's progress. It didn't come from one giant leap. It came from hundreds of small steps that compounded into something extraordinary. You've got to stop chasing perfection and start embracing progress. Too many people wait for the perfect moment to start, the perfect plan, the perfect energy, the perfect timing. But that's not how life works. There is no perfect moment. There's only now. And when you start now, even if it's messy, even if it's small, you're building momentum. Because momentum loves movement. The more you do, the easier it gets to keep doing. But if you wait, if you hesitate, you lose that rhythm. And starting again feels 10 times harder. Here's the truth. Success is boring. It's doing the same thing, the right thing, over and over again. It's waking up early, eating right, working out, studying, practicing your craft every single day. It's not GL, amorous. It's not dramatic. It's repetition. But that repetition is what builds greatness. The people you admire, the ones at the top of their game, they didn't just show up once. They showed up every day for years. And every day they did, they improved by a fraction. Those fractions compounded into mastery. You don't have to make massive progress every day. You just have to make some. It might be a small improvement. It might be learning one new thing. It might be pushing a little harder than yesterday. That's enough. Because when you add up all those little betters, they become a big transformation. The mind loves to exaggerate short-term results, but it underestimates the power of long-term consistency. You won't always see progress day to day. But if you stay faithful to the process, you'll look back in 6 months, a year, 5 years, and you won't even recognize who you become. Wow. Every success story has a quiet beginning. It starts with one step. Nobody sees the long nights, the lonely mornings, the silent struggle. They just see the end result. But those who truly make it know the grind, the discipline, the repetition, that's where progress was born. That's where strength was built. You can't rush that process. You can't fake it. You can only live it. Progress compounds in every area of your life. You start eating better. It doesn't just change your body. It changes your confidence. You start reading more. It doesn't just change your knowledge. It changes your mindset. You start showing up earlier. It doesn't just change your productivity. It changes your character. One habit bleeds into another. That's how progress multiplies. One victory gives you energy for the next one. One success gives you confidence for the next battle. That's how consistency creates a ripple effect that changes everything. And here's the part most people miss. Compounding doesn't just build success, it builds belief. Every day you stay consistent. You prove to yourself, you can be trusted. That belief becomes the foundation of your future. Because once you truly believe you can improve, even by 1%, every single day, there's nothing that can stop you. You become addicted to growth. You stop chasing results and start chasing effort. And when you chase effort, results chase you. So stop underestimating the small things. Stop telling yourself that a little progress doesn't matter. It does. It all matters. Every page you read, every rep you push, every minute you stay focused, it all adds up. You just have to give it time. The compound effect works quietly, but it never fails. If you're consistent, it's only a matter of time before your results explode. We don't need to do everything today. You don't need to transform overnight. You just need to be a little better today than you were yesterday. That's the real game. That's the truth every champion understands. Because when you stay consistent, when you keep stacking those small wins, something incredible happens. You start to build unstoppable momentum. And when that happens, nothing and no one can hold you back. That's the power of compounding progress. It doesn't just change your results. It changes you. It transforms your mindset, your habits, your standards. And before you know it, the person who once struggled to start becomes the person who can't stop improving. That's the moment you realize success was never about doing one thing perfectly. It was about doing small things faithfully every single day until they change your life forever. You can't let your emotions control your actions if you want to win in life. Feelings come and go, they rise and fall, they shift like the wind. If your grind depends on how you feel, you'll never build anything that lasts. One day you'll wake up motivated, ready to conquer the world. The next day you'll feel tired, distracted, frustrated. And if you let that emotion lead you, you'll quit. You can't build greatness on mood swings. Success belongs to those who do the work, whether they feel like it or not. Listen, your feelings are temporary, but your dreams are permanent. You can't sacrifice your long-term goals for short-term comfort. I've seen too many people start something strong and quit when it gets hard. They'll go to the gym when they feel good, but skip it when they're sore. They'll study when they're inspired, but stop when they're bored. That's not commitment. That's convenience. The truth is, your emotions are not supposed to be your master. They're supposed to be your signal. You can feel tired, but you still move. You can feel scared, but you still show up. You can feel unmotivated, but you still execute. That's what separates the amateurs from the professionals. You've got to train yourself to do it anyway. The most dangerous lie you can tell yourself is, I'll do it when I feel ready. Because that moment rarely comes. If you wait for the perfect feeling, you'll spend your whole life waiting. The secret is learning to act in spite of your emotions. When you don't feel like waking up early, you do it anyway. When you don't feel like studying, you do it anyway. When you don't feel like working out, you do it anyway. Because every time you push through the feeling, you build mental muscle. And that muscle becomes your greatest weapon in life. You've got to stop negotiating with your feelings. Every time you say, I'll do it later, you give your emotions power over your purpose. You train your brain to value comfort more than commitment. But when you act regardless of emotion, you rewire your mindset. You tell your brain, we do what's right, not what's easy. That's how champions are made. Not by motivation, but by discipline. Motivation gets you started. Discipline keeps you going. Motivation is a spark. Discipline is the fire that burns through the storm. When you learn to move without emotion, you become unstoppable. Because most people quit when it gets hard. Most people stop when they're tired. Most people wait until they feel inspired. But if you keep moving, if you keep grinding, even when it hurts, you become a different breed. You develop a work ethic that doesn't depend on circumstances. You become reliable. And that reliability is rare in a world full of excuses. The truth is, emotions lie. They tell you you're too tired when you're not. They tell you it's not the right time when it is. They tell you you're not ready when you've been ready for years. Feelings are designed to keep you safe, not successful. Your brain is wired for comfort, not greatness. That's why the hardest battles you'll ever fight won't be in the gym or the office. They'll be in your own head. Every morning you've got to decide, will I let my feelings dictate my future, or will I do what needs to be done? I've seen people with half your talent win because they refused to listen to their emotions. They were tired, but they worked. They were scared, but they showed up. They were discouraged, but they kept moving. And one day they looked up and realized they made it. Not because they had everything figured out, but because they kept doing the small things every day. The world doesn't reward how you feel. It rewards what you do. Some days you're going to wake up and feel like quitting. You'll feel like your effort doesn't matter, like your work isn't paying off. But feelings aren't facts. Your emotions might tell you that you're stuck, but progress is still happening behind the scenes. You might not see it today, but every rep, every page, every step is adding up. You can't judge your future based on how you feel in the moment. You've got to trust the process, not your emotions. Let me make it clear. Discipline is not about ignoring your feelings. It's about mastering them. It's about feeling fear and still acting with courage. It's about feeling tired and still pushing through. It's about feeling doubt, but refusing to stop. You don't need to be emotionless. You just need to be emotionally intelligent. You need to recognize the emotion, acknowledge it, but not obey it. You can say, I feel tired and still move. I feel scared and still take the leap. I feel unmotivated and still grind. That's what separates leaders from followers. Abraham written, when you're emotionally driven, your life becomes inconsistent. You'll be on fire one day and burn out the next. You'll have bursts of success followed by seasons of stagnation. But when you're disciplined, driven, you build a rhythm. You move with consistency, and consistency builds momentum. Momentum is what carries you through the days when nothing seems to work. It's what keeps you going when everyone else stops. That's why the greats don't rely on emotion. They rely on structure, habits, and systems. Think about the best athletes in the world. You think they wake up every day excited to train? No, some days they hate it, but they do it anyway because they understand that emotions fade, but results remain. You think business leaders always feel confident? No, they have doubts too, but they act anyway because they've learned to trust discipline more than feelings. You think artists always feel inspired? No, they create regardless of inspiration. That's why their work outlives their emotions. Every single time you let your emotions win, you strengthen your weakness. But every time you take action despite emotion, you strengthen your power. You're teaching yourself to be consistent, reliable, and unstoppable. You're proving that you are in control, not your feelings, not your circumstances, not your fears. You. And once you reach that level of control, there's nothing life can throw at you that you can't handle. You've got to decide what matters more, your feelings or your future. Because the truth is, they don't always align. Your feelings will tell you to rest when it's time to grind. Your feelings will tell you to quit when you're one step away from breakthrough. Your feelings will tell you to slow down when life is testing your speed. But your future is waiting for you to rise above those emotions and act with intention. Abraham, there's power in doing it anyway. There's power in showing up when you don't feel like it, because that's where the real growth happens. That's when you find out who you truly are. Anybody can move when it's easy, but when you can move when it's hard, when you can push when you're exhausted, focus when you're distracted, and believe when you're doubting, that's when you unlock greatness. You got to learn to treat your goals like oxygen. You don't negotiate for it. You don't wait until you feel like breathing. You just breathe. That's how you've got to move towards your dream. Whether it's raining or shining, whether you're tired or energized, you move because you understand that emotions are temporary, but regret is permanent. And if you keep letting your feelings stop you, one day you'll look back and realize you gave up too soon, not because you couldn't, but because you felt like you couldn't. So stop letting your emotions lead your life. Let your purpose lead it. Let your vision lead it. Let your discipline lead it. Your emotions can ride in the car, but they can't touch the steering wheel. You drive, you decide, you execute. Because once you stop letting emotions dictate your effort, there's nothing on this earth that can hold you back from what you're meant to achieve. Confidence doesn't come from other people's validation. It comes from keeping promises to yourself. Every single time you say you'll do something and you actually do it, you build a brick of self-belief. You begin to trust your own word. And that trust is the foundation of confidence. People think confidence is loud. They think it's about walking into a room and shouting, I'm the best. But real confidence is quiet. It's the peace that comes from knowing you've done the work. It's the strength of a person who doesn't have to prove anything because they already know who they are. And the way you get that? Through consistency, through showing up when it's hard, through honoring your own commitments. You can't build confidence on broken promises. Every time you tell yourself, I'll wake up early and then hit snooze, you chip away at your own belief. Every time you say, I'll eat better and then grab junk food out of convenience, you weaken the trust you have with yourself. It's not about the food or the alarm clock. It's about the message you send your mind. I don't mean what I say. And when your mind starts to believe that, it stops trusting you. That's why so many people struggle with confidence. It's not that they don't have potential. It's that they've stopped believing their own voice. Confidence isn't about pretending to be fearless. It's about proving to yourself that you can face fear and survive it. You don't get stronger by avoiding challenges. You get stronger by keeping promises in the face of difficulty. You say you're going to study for an hour, then do it. You say you're going to the gym. Go. You say you're going to build your dream. Start today. It's not about being perfect. It's about being consistent. Your brain starts to recognize a pattern. When I say something, I follow through. That's how belief is built. That's how you start walking differently, talking differently, thinking differently, because you're no longer faking confident. CE. You're becoming it. Hey, bro. You've got to understand something powerful. Self-trust is the root of all confidence. You can't stand tall in public if you keep breaking promises in private. You can wear the best clothes, speak with the best tone, post motivational quotes all day long. But if deep down you know you don't follow through, that insecurity will always whisper in your ear. That voice will remind you, you said that last week too. And that's the voice you've got to silence, not by ignoring it, but by proving it wrong through action. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, that voice gets quieter. Every time you follow through, your confidence gets louder. Think about it. Confidence isn't given, it's earned. You can't read it in a book. You can't buy it in a store. You build it with your habits. You build it every time you show up when you said you would. You build it when you stick to your word, when you resist temptation, when you push through resistance. And the beautiful thing about confidence is this, it compounds. The more you keep promises, the stronger it gets. You start small. I'll drink more water. I'll go for a run. I'll write for 10 minutes. And when you follow through, your brain starts to believe you. It says, okay, maybe we can do this. Then you aim a little higher. That's how self-belief grows. It's not built in a day. It's built daily. Most people don't lack confidence. They lack evidence. They want to believe in themselves, but they haven't given themselves a reason to. You can't just tell yourself you're great and expect it to work. Your brain needs proof, and the proof comes from action. That's why you feel good when you finish a workout or complete a project. It's not just endorphins, it's self-respect. It's the feeling of alignment between your words and your actions. That's where real confidence lives. It's not arrogance, it's integrity. Let me tell you something. Confidence doesn't mean you always feel ready. Sometimes you'll be scared. Sometimes you'll doubt yourself. But when you built a track record of consistency, you can look back and say, I've done hard things before. I can do this too. That's the gift of keeping promises. It gives you receipts of your strengths. So when fear shows up, you've got evidence to fight it with. You don't have to hope you'll win. You know you will because you've proven it to yourself over and over again. You can't fake that kind of confidence. You can post all the quotes, wear all the motivational shirts, tell yourself I got this 100 times. But if your daily actions don't match, it's just noise. The real flex is walking in silence, doing the work nobody sees and letting the results speak. Because when you're truly confident, you don't need to talk about it. You embody it. You move differently because you know your own power. And that power came from all those moments when you could have quit, but didn't. Building confidence is like building muscle. It takes repetition. It takes time. And it takes showing up even when you don't feel like it. You don't go to the gym once and expect to be strong forever. You show up consistently, even on the days you're tired, even when it hurts. And every rep makes you a little stronger. It's the same with self-belief. Every time you act with discipline, every time you honor your word, you're doing a rep for your confidence. You might not see it immediately, but it's growing slowly, steadily, powerfully. Hebrew, the opposite is true too. Every time you break a promise, every time you say, I'll do it tomorrow, you're doing a rep for self-doubt. You're reinforcing the belief that you can't rely on yourself. And over time, that doubt grows. That's why you got to be intentional with your choices. Every action you take is training your mind, either toward confidence or toward insecurity. You decide which side you're building. Here's the truth. The strongest people in the world aren't the ones who never doubt. BT. They're the ones who move forward despite the doubt. They've learned to trust themselves so deeply that they don't need everything to feel perfect. They know they'll figure it out. That's what confidence really is. It's not I know everything. It's I can handle anything. And you only earn that mindset through experience, by showing up, by being consistent, by proving to yourself that you can. I've met people who were brilliant, talented, full of potential, but they didn't believe in themselves because they didn't follow through. They said all the right things, but their actions didn't match. And I've met others who weren't the most gifted, but they were consistent. And over time, they built unstoppable confidence, because when you keep promises to yourself, you start to see yourself differently. You stop seeing the version of you that quits. You start seeing the version that follows through. You start to realize that you are capable, worthy, powerful. That belief changes everything. It's not about doing everything perfectly. It's about doing something faithfully. Confidence doesn't come from perfection. It comes from persistence. You'll stumble, you'll mess up, but if you get back up and keep going, that's what builds the belief. Every comeback strengthens your confidence. Every failure you face and overcome adds another layer of proof that you're stronger than your emotions, stronger than your excuses, stronger than your fears. Hebrew. So stop waiting for confidence to magically appear. Stop looking for it in books, in videos, in other people's words. Confidence isn't something you find. It's something you build. You build it one choice at a time. You build it when you say, I'll do it, and you do it. You build it when you feel like quitting, but push through. You build it every time you trust yourself enough to take action, even when it's uncomfortable. Because one day you'll look back and realize you don't question yourself anymore. You don't second guess why. Our ability. You don't doubt your strength. Not because life got easier, but because you got stronger. Because you did the work. Because you stayed consistent. Because you built the kind of confidence that can't be shaken. Confidence that comes not from words, but from action. And that's the kind of confidence that changes everything. Ye versus we. You know what's crazy? Everybody wants the glory. Everybody wants to be successful, but nobody wants to do the boring stuff over and over again. Nobody wants to go through that same routine day after day when it feels like nothing's changing, when it feels like nobody sees your grind. But that's exactly where greatness is built. See, the people who make it to the top, whether it's in business, sports, music, or life, understand one truth. There are no shortcuts. You can't cheat consistency. You can't fake it. You can't pretend to put in the work and expect real results. Every ounce of progress is paid for with time, repetition, and sacrifice. When people look at a champion, they see the highlight reels. They see the interviews, the trophies, the success story. But what they don't see is the 1,000 mornings before the sun came up. They don't see the late nights, the pain, the doubts, the sweat, because that's not glamorous. That's not Instagram worthy. But that's where the real work happens. You think Kobe Bryant became Kobe because he was talented? No, he became great because when everyone else went home after practice, he stayed. When people were sleeping, he was shooting free throws. When others were resting, he was perfecting his craft. That's the power of repetition. That's the power of doing what others won't. Ibrahim. See, success is not a one-time thing. You don't get there by having one good day or one burst of motivation. You get there by stacking small wins day after day, year after year. It's not about how hard you work once. It's about how long you can keep working hard. You can't do something for a week and expect a lifetime of results. That's not how the universe works. You've got to earn it, and earning takes time. People today are addicted to quick results. They want everything fast, fast money, fast fame, fast success. But anything that comes fast goes fast. Real growth, the kind that lasts, takes years of repetition and refinement. Let me be real with you. There were times I wanted to quit. There were times when I looked around and said, man, this isn't working. But every time I showed up, something inside me grew stronger. Not my bank account, not my followers, me, my mindset, my endurance, my patience. Because repetition doesn't just build skill, it builds character. Every time you choose to keep going, you're teaching yourself persistence. Every time you push through boredom, you're developing resilience. That's how you become unbreakable. You've got to understand, your breakthrough won't happen because of one magical moment. It happens because of the 1,000 small moments before it. Every rep in the gym, every page you write, every call you make, every rejection you face, it all adds up. You don't see it in the moment, but those moments are shaping you. You are laying the bricks for your success. One consistent action at a time. The reason most people never finish is because they stop laying bricks. They start something, do it for a little while, and then quit when it gets tough or boring. But the people who build something lasting, they never stop laying those bricks. They might not build the whole wall in a day, but they lay one perfect brick every single day. Let me ask you something. Do you brush your teeth once and expect your breath to stay fresh forever? Of course not. You do it every day. Not because you enjoy it, but because you understand the importance of consistency. It's the same with success. You can't go to the gym once and expect to stay fit for life. You can't read one book and call yourself educated. You can't work hard 1 month and expect lifelong You're sick, just said, yeah, the secret. The secret is not in the act. It's in the habit. Too many of you are waiting for motivation to strike. You're waiting to feel ready. Let me tell you something. You will never feel ready. The only thing that will prepare you is doing it again and again, even when you don't feel like it. The people who make it are not the ones who feel inspired all the time. They're the ones who get up and do it anyway. They understand that repetition beats talent. When talent doesn't work hard, consistency might feel slow, but it's powerful. Every day you repeat the right actions, you're building momentum. You might not notice it, but the compound effect is happening behind the scenes. One day, all that effort will explode into results that look like overnight success to the world. But you'll know the truth. You'll know that success was built one day, one decision, one repetition at a time. Stop comparing your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. They didn't get there overnight. They went through the grind. They put in the unseen hours. They failed and tried again. Every time you repeat the process, you're getting better, even if you can't see it. You're developing muscle memory for success. You're reprogramming your brain to respond to challenges with discipline instead of excuses. You've got to fall in love with the process, not the outcome, the process, because that's where you live most of your life. You can't only love success days. You've got to love the work days, the struggle days, the nobody's watching me days, because that's what defines you. It's easy to post the result. It's hard to post a routine, but the routine is where you become who you're meant to be. People ask me, Eric, what's the secret? I tell them there is no secret. Just repetition. Wake up, work hard, stay humble, repeat. That's it. That's the formula. There's no hack, no shortcut, no magic system. Just you versus you every single day. You keep doing it until it becomes part of your DNA, until you don't have to think about working hard. It just happens. If you want to be a leader, show up. If you want to be great, show up. If you want to change your life, show up. Even when you're tired, even when it's inconvenient, even when it feels pointless, because every day you show up, you're one step closer to your breakthrough. And one day, all those days of repetition will come together and the world will call you lucky. But you'll know it wasn't luck. It was consistency. There are no shortcuts to the top. You can't skip the climb. You can't fake the reps. You can't cheat time. The only way is through the pain, through the boredom, through the doubt. The road to greatness is long, but if you stay consistent, every step takes you higher. Don't rush it. Trust it, because the person you're becoming through the process is far more valuable than the reward itself. The truth is, the shortcut is the long way. Every time you try to skip steps, life sends you back to start. But when you stay steady, when you repeat the process with patience, you build something unshakable. You build skill. You build mindset. You build strength. And when you finally reach your destination, you'll stay there because you've earned it the hard way. So remember this, success doesn't belong to the lucky. It belongs to the consistent. You can outwork anyone if you stay at it long enough. Keep doing the reps. Keep repeating the process. Don't stop. Don't quit. Don't take shortcuts, because the longer you stay consistent, the closer you get to greatness. Most people in this world want accountability when someone's watching. They'll show up when there's a coach yelling at them, when the boss is checking in, when the teacher's grading the work. But when nobody's watching, that's when most people disappear. That's when they cut corners, when they take the easy route. And that's why they never reach their true potential. Because real growth, real power comes when you learn to hold yourself accountable. When you can look in the mirror and say, I owe it to me. Not to my parents, not to my boss, not to my friends, to me. When I was sleeping in abandoned buildings, when I had nothing, no money, no degree, no plan, I didn't have a boss telling me to get up. I didn't have a coach yelling, let's go. The only voice I had was mine. And I had to decide that my dream was worth the pain, worth the sacrifice, worth the early mornings and the late nights. I had to be my own accountability partner, because at the end of the day, nobody's coming to save you. Nobody's going to drag you out of bed. Nobody's going to chase your dream for you. You've got to be the one who shows up when no one else does. Being your own accountability means you stop making excuses. You stop saying, I'll do it tomorrow. You stop blaming circumstances. You stop waiting for motivation. You start showing up out of principle, not emotion. That's the difference between average and exceptional. The average person needs pressure to perform. The great ones create that pressure within themselves. They demand excellence even when nobody's keeping score. Got to understand, success doesn't reward intention. It rewards execution. You can have the best ideas in the world, but if you don't follow through, they mean nothing. The reason most people never hit their goals is because they rely on external accountability. They need someone to remind them. They need someone to check up on them. But when you start holding yourself accountable, everything changes. You move from being reactive to being proactive. You stop being controlled by your environment and start controlling your destiny. There's something powerful about being able to say, I do what I say I'm going to do. That's integrity. That's character. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you build trust with yourself. And that trust, that's the foundation of confidence. You can't be confident if you don't believe your own word. If you keep saying you'll do something and then don't, you're training your brain to doubt you. But when you show up day after day, no matter how you feel, you rebuilding a reputation with yourself that says, I'm reliable, I'm consistent, I finish what I start. Let's be real. Life gets hard. There will be days when nobody texts you encouragement. There will be nights when nobody claps for your effort. There will be moments when you question if it's even worth it. That's where accountability becomes your weapon. Because when the applause stops, accountability keeps you going. When the motivation fades, accountability keeps you moving. When the world forgets your name, accountability reminds you why you started. I see so many people quit because they're chasing validation. They want someone to notice their grind. They want people to say, good job. But the truth is, greatness happens in silence. It happens in those hours when nobody's watching, when nobody's celebrating you. Because when you hold yourself accountable, you don't need applause to keep working. Your vision becomes enough. Think about a lion. A lion doesn't need a trainer to remind it who it is. It doesn't need someone to clap for it. It knows it's the king of the jungle. That's how you've got to move, not with arrogance, but with assurance. You've got to remind yourself who you are and what you stand for. You've got to be the one that checks your own excuses at the door. Eber, being your own accountability also means being honest with yourself. Sometimes that's the hardest part. It's easy to lie to others. It's easy to post your grind online. But when you're alone with yourself, you know the truth. You know if you've been slacking. You know if you've been making excuses. You know if you've been playing small. And the moment you stop lying to yourself, you start changing your life. Because accountability and honesty are twins. You can't have one without the other. When I talk to students, athletes, entrepreneurs, I tell them all the same thing. Nobody's going to do the work for you. You can have mentors, coaches, parents, friends. But at the end of the day, it's your life. You have to take ownership. Ownership means no blame, no excuses, no waiting for someone else. It means if it's to be, it's up to me. And once you live by that code, you become unstoppable. Because nothing outside of you can stop what's built inside of you. Think about it. The gym doesn't get you fit. Going to the gym consistently does. But who decides to go? You do. Your teacher can't make you study. Your coach can't make you train. Your parents can't make you dream. You decide every single day what standard you live by. That's accountability. It's waking up and saying, no matter what happens today, I'm going to do what I said I'd do. Sometimes that means doing it tired. Sometimes it means doing it scared. Sometimes it means doing it alone, but you do it anyway. Because the person who can hold themselves accountable in private is the same person who dominates in public. You want to know why champions win? Because they train when no one's watching. They practice when it's inconvenient. They do the work every single day, whether they feel like it or not. And don't get it twisted. Accountability doesn't mean perfection. It means commitment. It means when you mess up, you own it. When you fall short, you don't hide, you fix it. You don't pretend it didn't happen. You learn, you adjust, and you keep going. Because growth is built on self-awareness. You can't improve what you won't acknowledge. The truth is, accountability isn't a burden, it's freedom. When you start living by accountability, you stop waiting on others. You stop blaming the system, the weather, your boss, your past. You take back control. You realize I'm in charge of my life. You can't control what happens to you, but you can control how you respond. You can't control every opportunity, but you can control your preparation. You can't control people's opinions, but you can control your consistency. That's what accountability does. It gives you the steering wheel. When you stop relying on external accountability, you stop being a victim. You stop saying they didn't help me. You stop saying nobody supports me, because you realize you were built to carry your dream. And that's when your mindset shifts from I have to I get to. You stop dreading the work. You start embracing it. because you understand that every time you show up for yourself, you're investing in your future. You know what the real secret of success is. It's not talent. It's not luck. It's accountability. Because you can have all the potential in the world, but if you don't show up, it doesn't matter. Accountability keeps you disciplined when motivation disappears. Accountability keeps you humble when success arrives. Accountability keeps you focused when distractions call your name. The greatest athletes, the most successful entrepreneurs, the most fulfilled people, they all have one thing in common. They don't need to be told what to do. They don't need someone pushing them. They built that inner engine, that internal drive that says, let's go. That's what separates them from everyone else. They take full responsibility for everything, the wins, the losses, the effort, the outcome. So if you want to change your life, stop waiting for a push. Push yourself. Be the reason you win. Be the one who keeps promises, even when nobody would notice if you didn't. Be the one who gets up because the goal demands it, not because someone told you to. That's what accountability looks like. That's what leadership looks like. The moment you start holding yourself accountable, everything in your life changes. Your relationships improve because you stop blaming others. Your results improve because you start showing up. Your confidence improves because you start keeping your word. You start to respect yourself, and that respect builds power. So when you wake up tomorrow, don't wait for someone to motivate you. Look in the mirror and remind yourself, I owe it to me. I'm responsible for my future. I'm accountable to my dream. And once you start living like that, once you start being your own accountability, nobody can stop you, because the strongest kind of motivation doesn't come from applause. It comes from purpose, discipline, and a promise you made to yourself that you will not quit no matter what. When you first start chasing your dream, it's hard. You're fighting against laziness, doubt, fear, distractions. Everything in your world is trying to pull you away from that goal. But the moment you become consistent, everything changes. You start to build momentum. You start to create a rhythm that carries you forward, even when your energy drops. That's when consistency transforms into freedom. You stop depending on motivation because your habits take over. You don't have to force yourself anymore. It becomes who you are. Most people think freedom means doing whatever you want, whenever you want. But that's not freedom. That's chaos. Real freedom comes from structure. Real freedom comes from discipline. Real freedom is when your habits serve your goals instead of sabotaging them. When you become consistent, you take control of your time, your emotions, and your future. You're no longer reacting to life. You're designing it. Hebrew, let me break it down for you. Imagine waking up every day and not having to fight with yourself to get out of bed. You don't need to debate whether to go to the gym, whether to work on your business, whether to study. You just do it. It's automatic. That's freedom. When consistency becomes part of your DNA, you stop wasting energy deciding. You've already decided every day. That's why the most disciplined people often look the most at peace, because they've built systems that free their mind. Hebrew, think about it like driving a car. When you first learn to drive, every movement feels forced. You have to think about pressing the pedal, turning the wheel, checking the mirrors. But once you do it every day, it becomes second nature. You can drive, talk, and think all at once. That's what consistency does. It trains your brain and body to perform at a high level without friction. It removes hesitation. It turns effort into instinct. Cool. And that's what success really is. Doing the right things automatically. Most people lose because they rely on emotions. They say, I don't feel like it today. And every time they say that, they're giving their power away. But when you live in consistency, you've built your own operating system. It doesn't matter if you feel like it or not. The work gets done. That's freedom. Freedom from doubt. Freedom from laziness. Freedom from the trap of your own excuses. Ebert, you see, inconsistency is exhausting. You start and stop, get hyped and lose focus, build momentum and then throw it all away. You waste so much energy restarting that you never make real progress. Consistency eliminates that. It creates a smooth path where every day builds on the one before it. You're not starting over, you're leveling up. And that progress, that steady climb, gives you confidence. You wake up knowing that every day counts when you become consistent. Your habits start working for you instead of against you. You don't have to force success anymore. It starts chasing you. Doors begin to open. People start to notice. Opportunities start aligning with your effort. Why? Because the universe rewards consistency. It's like gravity. When you show up every single day, something starts to shift in your favor. Your mind sharpens, your skills grow, your reputation builds. Suddenly, the things that felt impossible start to look inevitable. There's a peace that comes with consistency. You stop worrying about the outcome so much because you trust your process. You stop comparing yourself to others because you know you're doing the work. You stop feeling anxious about the future because you're creating it day by day. That's the kind of confidence money can't buy. The confidence that comes from discipline. You ever notice how successful people seem calm even in chaos? That's because consistency has made them resilient. They've faced enough ups and downs to know that nothing can shake them if they keep showing up. They don't panic when things go wrong. They adjust. They don't quit when life hits them. They pivot. They've built the muscle of persistence so strong that adversity becomes fuel instead of a barrier. Freedom isn't the absence of struggle. It's the ability to stay focused in the middle of it. When you build consistent habits, you gain control over your emotions. You stop letting fear and doubt make your decisions. You become grounded. You can work under pressure. You can stay patient through the process, and you can keep going when others give up. That's what makes you unstoppable. Hebrew people think consistency is boring. They say, I don't want to do the same thing every day. But let me tell you, repetition is where mastery lives. The more you repeat something, the more creative freedom you gain. A musician practices scales for years before improvising. An athlete trains the same move for hours before playing fluidly. A writer writes 1,000 drafts before crafting a masterpiece. Consistency doesn't limit creativity. It unlocks it. Because once the basics become automatic, your mind is free to innovate. That's what freedom through consistency means. You gain the ability to perform at your highest potential without hesitation. You don't waste time trying to remember what to do or fighting yourself to do it. You just flow. That flow state, that's where the magic happens. That's when your mind, your body, and your purpose align perfectly. But you can't reach that level without discipline. You can't reach it without showing up when it's hard, when it's quiet, when it's thankless. You want to know what separates winners from dreamers? Winners do it until it becomes second nature. Dreamers do it when it feels good. Winners understand that freedom is earned through consistency. Dreamers want freedom without sacrifice. But that's not how it works. You can't get the reward without the repetition. Look, freedom without consistency is chaos. It's doing what you want now and regretting it later. It's comfort now, pain later. But consistency is the opposite. It's discipline now, freedom later. You put in the work, and one day you realize you're not chasing success anymore. It's chasing you. You're not begging for opportunities. You're attracting them because consistency makes you magnetic. It tells the world this person is reliable. This person follows through. And let me be honest, the best feeling in the world isn't when people start noticing you. It's when you start noticing yourself changing. When you realize that the person who used to procrastinate now gets it done. When you realize the person who used to make excuses now finds solutions. When you realize you don't have to talk yourself into discipline anymore, it's who you are. That's real freedom. Consistency doesn't just create success, it creates identity. It transforms how you see yourself. You stop saying, I want to be successful, and you start saying, I am successful, because you're living it. You're embodying it. You're not why ting for validation anymore. You've earned your own respect. See, bro, and that respect is priceless, because when you respect yourself, you raise your standards. You stop tolerating mediocrity, not just from others, but from yourself. You start setting boundaries that protect your focus. You stop wasting time on things that don't serve your goals. You become intentional, and that intentionality gives you freedom. Freedom from distraction, freedom from guilt, freedom from regret. I need you to understand this. Freedom and consistency are not opposites. They're partners. You can't have one without the other. If you want to live on your own terms, you've got to earn it through daily discipline. If you want to wake up without anxiety, you've got to build routines that create stability. If you want to live a life of abundance, you've got to commit to excellence every single day. The reason consistency feels hard at first is because your old habits are fighting for control. But once you push through that resistance, you'll realize you were never fighting the work. You were fighting your comfort zone. And when you break through that, when you finally build the discipline to show up no matter what, that's when your life opens up. That's when the dream starts to feel real. Hebrew consistency creates freedom because it removes uncertainty. You know what needs to be done, and you trust yourself to do it. You stop relying on luck or chance because you've built reliability into your character. And once you reach that level, nothing can stop you. You could lose everything and still rebuild, because your habits, your consistency, are your foundation. So if you're tired of feeling stuck, if you're tired of doubting yourself, if you're tired of starting over, get consistent. Build your routines, build your systems, build your discipline, because one day you'll look back and realize the habits that once felt like chains became the wings that set you free.